Welcome everyone to the College Board released SAT practice test number 3. Today I will walk you through section 3, the note calculator section. So, beginning with question 1, a painter will paint n walls with the same size and shape in a building using a specific brand of paint. The painter's fee can be calculated by the expression NKLH, where n is the number of walls, K is a constant with units of dollars per square foot, L is the length of each wall in feet, and H is the height of each wall in feet. If the customer asks the painter to use a more expensive paint brand, which of the factors in the expression would change? So let's just go down the line. So with A, the height, if customer asks for more expensive paint, then the height of the walls is not going to change, so it's not A. B says that if you increase the price of the paint, then the length of the wall will change. That is also not true. D says that if you increase the cost of the paint, the number of walls will increase. But all three of these have no correlation, so the answer is C. Number 2, if 3r equals 18, what is the value of 6r plus 3? So we can solve our first equation for r, dividing both sides by 3, we get r equals 6. Substitute in 6 for r in our second expression, we get 36 plus 3 equals 39. So 2 is D. For number 3, which of the following is equal to a to the 2/3 power for all values of a? So just to demonstrate how to convert exponential exponents into radical form, take the radical, or I should say the exponent, square root of x. This equals x to the 1/2 power. And so we can label the 1 and the 2 in the radical like this. Square roots have an index of 2, but we just don't write it. So a common rule is that the numerator of your exponential power goes in the inside of the radical, and the denominator goes on the outside. So for a to the 2/3, this would be the denominator goes on the outside, and the 2, the numerator, goes on the inside. So cube root of a squared. So 3 is D. The number of states that joined the United States between 1776 and 1849 is twice the number of states that joined between 1850 and 1900. So if 30 states joined the United States between 1776 and 1849, and X states joined between 1850 and 1900, which of the following equations is true? So we know that between 1776 and 1849, the question said that there were 30 states that joined the US. And between 1850 and 1900, there were X. And they also tell us that twice the number of states joined between 1776 and 1849 than in 1850 and 1900. So if there were twice as many states that joined in the first half, then half of 30 is 15, so X equals 15. And so we need to find an equation with all four choices. One equation will have x equaling 15. And so if we go through all the choices, we'll find that 4 is B. Dividing both sides by 2, we get x equals 15. If 5 over x equals 15 over x plus 20, what is the value of x over 5? So I say we first solve for x, so we're going to cross multiply. So 15x equals 5 times x plus 20. Distributing, we get 5x plus 100. Subtracting 5x from both sides. 10x equals 100, so x equals 10 after we divide both sides by 10. Now we can plug in 10 for our expression, and we get 10 over 5, which equals 2. So 5 is C. Number 6, if xy is a solution to the system of equations above, what is the value of x minus y? So we can write out both of our equations. And we're going to have to pick one of our two methods of solving systems of equations. So we can either do substitution or elimination, and in this case, elimination is easier because there are no variables that are easily isolated, rather. So let's pick y, for example. We're going to make both of these y's be 6 so that we can cancel them out when we subtract the two equations. So to make this the negative 3y into negative 6y, we're going to multiply the first equation by 2. So 4x minus 6y equals negative 28. And then to get this negative 2y, to get negative 6y as well, multiply it by 3. So 9x minus 6y equals negative 18. We must multiply all terms, and then we're going to subtract because they're the same sign. So we get negative 5x. The y's cancel out, and then we get negative 28 minus negative 18, which is going to be a negative 10. So x equals 2. Plugging in 2 for x in either one of our equations. Let's pick this first one. 2 times 2 minus 3y equals negative 14. So 4 minus 3y equals negative 14. Minus 4 from both sides, we get negative 3y equals negative 18. So y equals a positive 6. The question wants x minus y, so 2 minus 6 equals negative 4. 6 is C. Number 7, the function f is defined by a polynomial. Some values of x and f of x are shown in the table above. Which of the following must be a factor of f of x? So for example, let's say, this is not necessarily true, but f of x equals x squared plus 5x plus 6. You may have seen quadratics like this, and if you're asked to factor a quadratic like this, you would get x plus 2 and x plus 3. Well, why are these factors? It's because when you solve this quadratic, both of these quadratics will be set equal to 0. So in order for something to be a factor, it must be equal to 0. And so what that means is we need to figure out which of the x values in our table gives us 0, and that's 4. So our factor is x minus 4, because you got to flip the signs. So 7 is C. So for number 8, the line y equals kx plus 4, where k is a constant, is graphed in the xy plane. If the line contains the point CD, where C does not equal 0 and D also does not equal 0, what is the slope of the line in terms of CD? So what's very important to recognize is that this question tells us the line contains the point CD. So whenever a question tells me that, I'm just going to plug in that point. So C is our x coordinate and D is the y coordinate, so we're going to D equals KC plus 4. Then the question wants the slope in terms of C and D. So in terms of just means equals, so we need the slope, or K, to equal C and D. So we got to isolate K. So we're going to first subtract 4 from both sides, giving us D minus 4 equals KC. Divide everything by C, and get D minus 4 over C equals K. So 8 is A. Number 9, in the system of equations above, K is a constant and X and Y are variables. For what value of K will the system of equations have no solution? So for no solution, that means that the two lines never cross. And for two lines to never cross, their slopes must be equal, and they must have different y-intercepts. But for this question, they're testing you on your ability to recognize the fact that no solution systems have the same slope. And so we're going to solve for the slope and then solve for k. So we know every number and variable in our second equation, so we're going to find the slope of that second equation. So we're going to write out our second equation, add 5y to both sides, for x equals 5y plus 7. Subtract 7, 4x minus 7 equals 5y. Divide everything by 5. We get y equals 4 over 5x minus 7 over 5. So our slope is 4 over 5. So we need our first equation to have the same slope. Writing out our second equation, we're going to isolate y. So we're going to add 3y to both sides. Subtract 4 from both sides. Divide everything by 3. We get k over 3 minus 4 over 3 equals y. So we know that 4/5 equals k over 3. Now we're going to solve for k. Now we're going to solve for k. So we're going to cross multiply. 12 equals 5k. Divide everything by 5. We get k equals 12 over 5. Number 10. In the xy plane, the parabola with equation y equals x minus 11 quantity squared intersects the line with equation y equals 25 at 2 points, A and B. What is the length of AB? So what this looks like is a quadratic with vertex at 11, 0, a quadratic, and then a line y equals 25 intersecting it at 2 points. So we need to set these two equations equal to each other and then solve for the intersection points. So to do that, we're going to set x minus 11 squared equal to 25. To undo this square on the left-hand side, we have to square root both sides. So x minus 11 equals, now here's what's important. I put this square root symbol, so I have to, whenever I solve for the square root now, I have to put plus or minus 5. Because 5 squared and negative 5 squared equals 25. So now it's going to be x equals negative 5 plus 11, because I'm adding 11 to both sides, and x equals 5 plus 11. So we get 6 and 16. So that means that on our graph, this intersects at 6, this intersects at 16. Their distance between each other is 10. So 10 is A. Number 11. In the figure above, lines K, L, and M intersect at a point. If x plus y equals u plus w, which of the following must be true? So we're going to set a bunch of equality statements. So we know that based on vertical angles, which means any two angles that are across from each other when two lines intersect, that happens a lot here. So we can recognize that x equals t because of vertical angles. We know that y equals u. And because y equals u, we can use our given equation here. If x plus y equals u plus w, and y and u are equal, and that means that if I subtract y, I'm subtracting u because they're the same, so x equals w. And we know that w equals z. And so if x equals w and w equals z, that means x equals z. So 1 is true. So we know it cannot be c. And so now, this question gets a bit more complicated, but what we can recognize also is that angles x, y, and z are all supplementary. And so because they are supplementary, they add up to equal 180 degrees. So x plus y plus z, and that holds true for w, u, and t. So this equals 180, and so does w plus u plus t equal 180. So these three angles added together equal each other. So we can set them equal. X plus y plus z equals w plus u plus t. Y and u we know are already equal, and so are x and w, leaving us with z equals t. So 3 is also correct. So we know it cannot be A, now it's down to just B and D. So we need to determine if y equals w, and unfortunately it does not, because there's no way to equate the angles y or u to anything else besides themselves. There's not enough information given, and so 11 is B. Number 12, in the quadratic equation above, A is a non-zero constant. The graph of the equation in the xy plane is a parabola with vertex CD. Which of the following is equal to D? So I want to first find my vertex. So I'm going to FOIL out my parabola. So I'm going to multiply the first two terms, the outer two terms, the inner two terms, and the last two terms. So y equals, keep A on the outside, x squared plus 4x minus 2x minus 8. That simplifies to x squared plus 2x minus 8. To find the x coordinate of your vertex, you can do negative b over 2a. A is the coefficient of your x squared term, and b is the coefficient of your x term. So negative 2 over 1 times 2, so 2, meaning the x coordinate of our vertex is negative 1, or c equals negative 1. And so now to find d, we can just plug in what we know for c, and that'll give us our y value of our vertex, or d. So now I'm going to plug in negative 1, so y equals a times negative 1 minus 2 times negative 1 plus 4. So y equals negative 1 minus 2 is a negative 3, so negative 3a times negative 1 plus 4, which is positive 3, which equals negative 9a. So 12 is a rather. Number 13, the equation 24x squared plus 25x minus 47 divided by ax minus 2 equals negative 8x minus 3 minus 53 over ax minus 2 is true for all values of x does not equal 2 over a, where a is a constant. What is the value of a? So we're going to write out this function along division. So we have 24x squared plus 25x minus 47 is divided by ax minus 2. And so this question gives us our answer. They tell us that the answer is negative 8x minus 3. So negative 8x minus 3, and then our remainder of negative 53. So function long division works very similar to regular long division. How many times does ax go into 24? And so to determine how many times ax goes into 24, we would have to know a, but we know how many times it goes in, which is negative 8x times. And so if negative 8x times ax equals 24x squared, what does that make a? That makes a equal to negative 3. So 13 is b. What are the solutions to 3x squared plus 12x plus 6 equals 0? Well, we're going to have to use our quadratic formula, but first we always try to divide out any whole numbers from our quadratic to make it simpler, and we can divide out a 3. So dividing out a 3, that leaves us with x squared plus 4x plus 2 equals 0, so we can actually solve it. And now our quadratic formula, which is negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So we have a term is the x squared, b term is the 4x, and c term is the 2, but we only use coefficients. So negative 4 plus or minus, here I'll just label it a, b, and c. Plus or minus a square root of b squared, so that's 4 squared, that's 16, minus 4 times 1 times 2, all over 2a, so just 2. That is negative 4 plus or minus square root of 16 minus 4 times 1 times 2, or 16 minus 8, so 8 over 2. And then how do we simplify radical 8? Well, we can do a prime factor tree, so find all the factors of 8, and then go out prime factorization, so just keep on dividing until you get to prime factors. Then we're going to circle any pairs. Whatever is not circled goes on the stays on the inside. So negative 4 plus or minus something radical 2, and then we go back to our circled pair, cross one out, take whatever is left, put it on the outside. So 2, 2. Now we're going to divide everything by 2 to get negative 2 plus or minus radical 2. And so that makes 14a. Number 15, the equation above shows how temperature F, measured in degrees Fahrenheit, relates to a temperature C, measured in degrees Celsius. Based on the equation, which of the following must be true? So, one says that a temperature increase of 1 degree Fahrenheit is equivalent to a temperature increase of 5 over 9 degrees Celsius. Well, if they're telling us that an increase of 1 degree Fahrenheit is equal to 5 over 9 degrees Celsius, we can test that by plugging in two values for Fahrenheit, and then or plugging in one value and then just increasing it by 1. So let's say F equals 32. That means plugging in 32 for our F in our equation, we get C equals 5 over 9 times 32 minus 32. So 5 over 9 times 0, which equals 0. Now let's increase it by 1 degree Fahrenheit. Let's plug in F equals 33. Right? C equals 5 over 9 times 33 minus 32. So that means that C equals 5 over 9 times 1, which is 5 over 9. So 1 is true because a 1 degree Fahrenheit increase gave us a 5 over 9 degrees increase in Celsius from 0 to 5 over 9. So now for number 2, or for part 2, it says a temperature increase of 1 degree Celsius is equivalent to a temperature increase of 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit. So let's do the same thing. Let's say Celsius equals 0 and then equals 1. Plugging that into our equation, Celsius equaling 0, we get 0 equals, so 0 equals 5 over 9 times F minus 32. We're going to isolate F, so we're going to get rid of our 5 over 9 fraction by multiplying by the reciprocal, so by 9 over 5 on both sides. 0 equals F minus 32, adding 32 to both sides, we get F equals 32. Now we're going to plug in 1 to our equation for 1 degree Celsius, so 1 equals 5 over 9 times F minus 32. Same thing, multiply by our reciprocal. 9 over 5 equals F minus 32. Add 32 to both sides. F equals 32 plus 9 over 5. And 9 over 5 happens to equal 1. And 9 over 5 happens to equal 1.8. So it's Fahrenheit plus 1.8. So 2 is also correct. when you increase the Celsius by 1 degrees. And now part 3 we can instantly rule out because it's simply the opposite of part 1, and so that it can't be true because a temperature increase of 5/9 degrees Fahrenheit is not equivalent to an increase of 1 degree Celsius. Because if 1 is true, then 3 can't be true because they increase at different rates. They're different units. So 15 is D. Number 16, if x is greater than 0, what is one possible solution to the equation above? So we have x cubed times x squared minus 5 equals negative 4x. So what we can do first is we can distribute our x cubed. 16. So we're going to do, that's x to the 5th minus 5x cubed equals negative 4x. We're going to add 4x to both sides. Then we're going to divide out an x because every term has one x that is shared, giving us x times x to the 4th minus 5x squared plus 4. Now we need to factor out our inside quadratic here. So x times, it's going to be x squared minus 1 times x squared minus 4. Because we use factors of 4, that multiply to get 4 and add to get negative 5, so negative 1 and negative 4. And now we're going to find one possible solution. So let's just, that is greater than 0. So this solution, x on the outside equaling 0, does not count. So let's pick x squared minus 1. So x squared minus 1 equals 0. We're going to add 1 to both sides. We get x squared equals 1. Square root, we get x equals 1. So 1 is the answer. Number 17, if 7/9x minus 4/9x equals 1/4 plus 5/12, what is the value of x? So we're going to first combine these like terms on this side, giving us 3/9x, because we subtracted, equals 1/4 plus 5/12. Now we need to make common denominators on the right hand side to add these two fractions. So we're going to make this 1/4 have a denominator of 12. So 3/9x equals, and to do that, 4 times 3 is 12. So multiply 3 by the numerator and the denominator. So 3/12 plus 5/12. 3/9x equals 8/12. Now 8/12 simplifies to, let's see, 2/3. So 3/9x equals 2/3. Multiply both sides by 9/3. Which means that x equals 2 times 9/3 times 3. Just 18/9, which equals 2. So x is 2. Now for number 18, two isosceles triangles are shown above. If 180 minus z equals 2y, and y equals 75, what is the value of x? So what we're going to do first is establish that all triangles have the sum of their interior angles, right, equals 180 degrees. So we can try to figure out, what does this given equation 180 minus z equals 2y? Well, isosceles triangles have a cool property that they have two equal side lengths. And so what that ends up meaning is that the angles that make those sides, because those lengths are the same, those angles are also the same. So equal angles. So there's one angle that's not the same, and two that are. So we can tell by our drawing, by the figure rather, that 180 minus z, z is this angle here, equals 2y. We could rewrite that to say 180 equals 2y plus z, if we add z to both sides. So z plus two sides of a triangle, or two angles, equal 180 degrees. So from that, we can determine that these two angles here are y. And y equals 75, so 180 equals the 2y, so 2 times y is 150, plus z, so z is 30, but what's more important is solving for x. And so we know that x and y are supplementary angles because they're all on the same line. So we have x plus y equals 180, and we know that y equals 75, so x plus 75 equals 180 minus 75 from both sides. We get x equals 105. Number 19, at a lunch stand, each hamburger has 50 more calories than each order of fries. If 2 hamburgers and 3 orders of fries have a total of 1,700 calories, how many calories does a hamburger have? So we know that hamburger calories equals fries calories, but plus 50, because each hamburger has 50 more calories than each order of fries, and that 2 hamburgers worth of calories plus 3 fries worth of calories equals 1,700 calories. And we need to figure out how many calories a hamburger has. So to isolate our h variable, we need to substitute for our f variable. So we can rewrite this first equation by subtracting 50 to get h minus 50 equals f. Substitute in that for f. Distribute, so 2h plus 3h minus 150 equals 1,700. Adding 150 to both sides. So then we get 5h after combining like terms equals 1850. And when you do this long division, you get that h equals 370. Yep, 370. So we get h equals 370. Number 20. In triangle ABC, the measure of angle B is 90 degrees, BC equals 16, and AC equals 20. Triangle DEF is similar to triangle ABC, where vertices D, E, and F correspond to vertices A, B, and C respectively, and each side of triangle DEF is 1/3 the length of the corresponding side of triangle ABC. So what is the value of sine of f? So we need to first draw out what we were just told, because that was a lot of information. So triangle ABC. B is the right angle, which is 90 degrees. So we have a B here. Let's put A and C here. It doesn't really matter. And then BC is 16, AC is 20. Now we know that triangle DEF is similar, and 1/3 the length of each side of ABC. So it's a smaller triangle, but with similar sides. So which means that all the angle measures are the same, which is what's really important. So if, for example, A equals D, and B equals E, and C equals F, they all have the same angle measure. And so that's what's important, is that when it asks for the value of sine of f, since these triangles are similar, we can just find the value of sine of c. And we already know most of the values of the side lengths of sine, or of triangle ABC. And so how can we figure out the last leg? Well, we have to always keep in mind our Pythagorean triple triangles. And so, for example, 3, 4, 5 right triangle is the most famous Pythagorean triple. And so we could recognize that multiplying the 3, 4, 5 triangle by 4 on each side gives us our triangle ABC. So multiplying all sides by 4, that gives us 16, 20, and 12. So AB is 12. Sine of C, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So we have sine C equals opposite, so opposite over hypotenuse. So 12 over 20, or simplified, dividing both by 4, we get 3 over 5. So I hope that was helpful. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you have any questions or any comments, just drop a comment down below. And yeah, I'll be making more of these videos in the coming weeks. My goal is to upload all 10 of the calculator sections before moving on to other sections. For example, the grammar and reading, which I'll eventually get to in the math calculator. So thank you so much for watching.